Amit Dattani has just finished work on his debut solo album down at Magic Garden in Wolverhampton. He joins me now not only to tell me about his work, but also there's a guitar lurking over there, which I'm hoping he's going to put to good use very soon. So, Amit, tell us a bit about you and your music.
So, my name's Amit. I play kind of fingerstyle. I kind of call it country blues roots. So it's kind of influenced by traditional, mostly American kind of acoustic music. I've been playing music for about 10 to 15 years, more so as part of a band called Mellow Peaches. I'm from the Black Country originally, and I now live in Birmingham. So I've been playing as part of a band for a while, and I've got a collection of songs that I wanted to release as just me. So this is my first stab at releasing something as Amit as opposed to as Mellow Peaches. So it's a bit scary but exciting at the same time.
But you've been out there and done that sort of stuff anyway, and you're used to standing in front of an audience, so that bit's okay. Yeah. But when you get to have complete say on the music, that must be interesting then, because you're also probably going to be working with producers, sound engineers and whatever else, and it's getting that point across on how it should sound.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mix, really. It's quite nice to have. On the one hand, it's quite nice to have someone on stage with you, and you can kind of vibe off each other. But at the same time, what I'm quite liking about playing on my own is I can kind of go off on one a bit more in terms of the song, and I can change it up while I'm playing it, and not have to worry about other people kind of knowing what I'm doing or whatnot. So it's kind of interesting. There's pluses and minuses to it. I'm quite enjoying it at the moment.
So if a middle 8 suddenly becomes a middle 16, it's your problem and your problem alone.
Absolutely. And if I suddenly make a massive mistake, I can get myself out of it eventually.
Yeah, no one's going to know there wasn't supposed to be that chord there.
It's all intentional. Yeah.
It's just part of the musicality that you possess. Yeah. So what's the album sort of sound, as it were, then? Is it full studio, or are we talking a bit of acoustic, and how far away from actual release?
The album itself is quite basic sounding. I've always wanted an album that was really stripped back. So it's essentially just me. My kind of singing and my guitar is quite interlinked, and so I don't record with overdubs. I like to kind of record as they did back in the 30s, so just all together in one go.
So it's available on cylinder as well?
On cylinder and crackled vinyl and all sorts. And it'll be released in March 2018.
So a bit of a wait. Does this mean you're going to be honing some bits on the mix? Or is there much to mix as it's just you?
Good question. Yeah, it's all done. It's all been mixed.
You're just teasing people now?
Just waiting. I mean, I think it's... I still need to work on the artwork and kind of some of the promotion side of it, and figure out how best to launch it. So I'm booking in a tour at the moment, and you often have to book venues very far in advance. So it kind of makes sense to release it when I'll have a bunch of gigs next spring.
So for Christmas, you're asking for a colouring in book, and then you can produce the artwork that goes along with the album.
And some crayons for New Year's Day.
That would be great, and it gives you something to do.
On New Year's Day after a while, after the hangover goes away, a bit of colouring in.
Yeah. And before you know it, you've got an album release. I think everybody should try that. That would work. Yeah. Okay, so how many songs and how many more have you got hiding in the back catalogue? Because I'm going to guess that you've quite enjoyed writing over the years.
Yeah, I mean, I've got... I kind of have an on and off relationship with... songs, and actually the title track from the album is called Santiago, and it's actually about writer's block, which is always great fun, as you can imagine. But I've got about 9 to 10 songs on the album. I think a couple of those are traditional songs, so old songs from the 20s or 30s or even older, and the rest are mine, including a couple of instrumentals. So a bit of a mix, and then I've got a bunch of tunes that I've played in the past with the different bands that I've played with.
So where did this interest in 80 to 90-year-old music come from then?
So I was listening to a lot of... Well, I started out kind of, as a lot of kids my age did, getting into Oasis and that sort of thing. And my brother, he plays... I think he's been here before. He plays in Solely Morning. He plays bass with them. And he got me into playing guitar, bought me a guitar. And he bought me a Jimi Hendrix CD and just left me to it. And I really enjoyed that. But I was interested in what Jimi Hendrix was influenced by, and listening to those players, and then listening to those players. And I ended up going back and hearing people like Mississippi John Hurt, who's a great fingerstyle player, who kind of made his guitar sound like a piano. People like Blind Blake, Big Bill Broonzy, these performers who could just sit on their own and play and do interesting things. And
not necessarily available on iTunes, so where did you find all this stuff?
Oh, God, the library. The library was amazing. The library in Stourbridge, the one in Birmingham, you just get CDs out and listen to them.
You've toured for some interesting stuff.
Yeah, and the chap who I played with the Mellow Peaches, he seemed to be getting into the same sort of music at the same time as me, so we'd have our little geek outs and get these CDs and get together and listen to things and try and learn things, all by ear, because it was obviously before tablature and things were were as freely available on the internet as they are, which makes me feel a bit old saying that, but there we go. So it was all like painstakingly listening. So I can't read music, so it was just listening, learning.
But then that does mean it is much more about making a good noise than it is about trying to get something that looks pretty on paper.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it means it's about getting the nuances and the feeling into the music that you hear, as opposed to trying to get it exactly right.
And you've been tempted to get it transcribed at any point?
Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to learn how to read music one day. My wife's a music teacher, so I probably should ask her at some point.
If anyone can teach you, it's the other half. That's good. What happens next then? The album comes out, but more recording on the way, and do you maybe fancy doing something with a bigger band sound, or are you happy keeping it stripped back?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, so album, a tour, work up some new material, probably revisit things with Mellow Peaches. I also play in a bluegrass band as well, so we'll probably be releasing an album at some stage.
If you have time to do anything else.
Time.
Yeah.
And then eventually, it'd be nice to do another record where I've got kind of drums and bass and kind of more of a electrified country bluesy type of sound, quite raw, and I'd quite like that one day.
Okay, we'll see what happens next. So is all of this sort of gelling together online anywhere?
Yeah, so the website is amitdattanimusic.com. If you Google Amit Dattani, I'm often not the first, because there's another Amit Dattani who's a faith healer. And he has about...
Now, if you could combine that with the music, that'd be a good trick.
He has about 300,000 followers on Instagram, so I've got a bit of a way to go to get above him. But so I'm probably about third or fourth down. But if you type Amit Dattani, there's a website there, and it has kind of gig dates and news and all that kind of stuff.
And whatever else happens to be happening in your world.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to hear you play guitar in a moment or two's time. What are we going to hear? And tell us a bit of the story of the song.
Well, I'll probably start with the title track from the album that I'm releasing. It's called Santiago. So it's about writer's block, and it's kind of about how... it's actually named after the character from The Old Man in the Sea, the Ernest Hemingway book. And he's... so the character Santiago is a fisherman, and he's not a very successful fisherman. And one day he goes out and catches a massive swordfish after a huge battle, almost to the death. And it's a beautiful gleaming swordfish, and he ties it to the side of his boat, and on his way back home it gets attacked by sharks, and it kind of ends up all skeletal and kind of completely ripped apart, and it starts off beautiful and ends up a bit ugly. And I think at the time it was almost sometimes how I would kind of see some of my songs. I'd kind of write a song and think, oh, that sounds all right, and come back to it, and you're always your worst self-critic, and you kind of go, oh, that's a bit rubbish now. So it's sort of that kind of yin and yang of trying to be better, but also not also trying to be a bit kind to yourself as well.
Well, swordfish in hand, that doesn't get used in playing the guitar in any way at all. But let's take a listen to something from Amit Dattani.
2, 3, 4. A job, I burned out a cigarette, stumbling home drunk with a hole in my side. If I can't play cornet like good old Louis Armstrong, keep that repetition blowing, 'cause the words I cannot find. Sometimes they curl up, land on the paper, most time they shrivel up and die with a tide. I keep my sorrow like a brook with no meander, keep that beauty ever flowing, 'cause the words I cannot find. Oh, Santiago, see that cherry fading stones are all you find. Oh, casting that down, dig deep within and hook another line. Down a flagpole for the art of this creation. The process of creating has left me running cold now. I'll spin a 45 and listen for an answer From my mattress I can't fall out, 'cause the words I cannot find. Ooh, Santiago, see that cherry fading stones are all you find. Ooh, casting that down, dig deep within and hook into the line. Ooh, Santiago, see that cherry fading stones are all you find. Oh, casting that down, dig deep within and hook